Hello, I've been digging through old newspapers, magazines and online reviews to see what people thought about sitcoms over the years. From way back in the early days of TV to what's on now. I found some lists of the worst rated sitcoms, and in this series of videos I'm going to take a look at the 15 shows that seem to have made the worst of the worst list most often. Let's see what all the fuss is about.
Number 15.
Up the Elephant and Round the Castle was a Thames television sitcom starring comedian Jim Davidson as lovable Cockney rogue Jim London that ran for 3 series from 1983 to 1985. London is a work-shy geezer who spends his days chasing women, drinking and avoiding the attention of the DHSS. When a relative dies, he inherits a rundown Victorian property at 17 Railway Terrace in the Elephant and Castle area of South London. He is short of money, has a randy neighbour Wanda, and there is a squatter upstairs. After starting as a comic in pubs, Davidson appeared in the television talent show New Faces, winning on the night and coming second overall in the series. Davidson was a huge star in the late 1970s and 1980s. His stand-up act often included disparaging jokes about women, ethnic minorities, homosexuals and disabled people, which made him a subject of frequent criticism. He did not hide his prejudices, even attracting negative media attention in 2007 over homophobic bullying towards openly gay television presenter Brian Dowling on the ITV show Hell's Kitchen. In 2013, Davidson was arrested twice by police officers working on Operation U-Tree. It was later announced that no further action will be taken in relation to the allegations due to insufficient evidence. Despite frequent controversies on and off screen, Davidson had a long career on television, in films and theatre. The audience ratings for Up the Elephant were extremely high, but that didn't stop it being an extremely cheap-looking, poorly written, almost childish sitcom. So much of the dialogue is packed with rhyming slang, it's rare that anyone gets through an entire line without a plates of meat, boat race or jam jar, or complaining about the old trouble and strife. It was criticised as dated, insensitive and unfunny, with much of the humour based around its embarrassing attempts to emulate the 1970s confession films that starred Robin Asquith. The Telegraph's Ben Lawrence ranked it as number 7 in his list of the 10 worst British sitcoms ever made. The Guardian included it in their list of the sitcoms that should never be revived. Matthew Norman in The Guardian called Up the Elephant and Round the Castle a riot of staggering witlessness, most notable for the fact that female lead Marina Sirtis's next TV role was as the psychic Deanna Troi in Star Trek The Next Generation. The Radio Times Guide to TV Comedy put it at number 19 in their list of the worst British sitcoms of all time. The series is largely forgotten nowadays. Several efforts at a DVD release have floundered due to a lack of demand. Its only merit was the theme composed by Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Number 14.
Sir Yellow was a pseudo-medieval sitcom made by Yorkshire Television for ITV in 1973. It starred Jimmy Edwards in the role of a cowardly, avaricious, womanising alcoholic knight. The series apparently took place sometime in the 13th century. Sir Yellow preferred to party and womanise rather than perform the traditional heroics of a knight defending chivalry and nobility. He adopted all sorts of tactical manoeuvres to avoid combat with his relentless enemy Sir Griswold, played by Alan Curtis. Sir Yellow was greeted with almost universally dreadful reviews. Contemporary critics were merciless. The plots were deemed hackneyed and the jokes unfunny, especially the attempts at blending modern references into the historical setting. When Paul Fox, director of programmes at Yorkshire Television, saw the first episode, he withdrew the rest of the series from broadcast in his region, as he considered it so poor. Melvin Hayes, who appeared as Sir Yellow's squire, Gregory, said, "Jimmy and I had signed up to do a second series, but the makers decided to just pay us rather than make it." London Weekend Television broadcast the final 3 episodes at 5 past midnight on Sunday mornings. In their annual report and accounts 1973 to 1974, the Independent Broadcasting Authority tried to put a brave face on the dubious quality of ITV's sitcom productions, saying there were various other new series such as Bowler, Romeo Jones and Not On Your Nelly, London Weekend, and Our Kid and Sir Yellow, Yorkshire. Although not all were uniformly successful, they were evidence of the continuing search for new comedy ideas. On the whole, the comedy scene on ITV in 1973 to 74 has held more promise than in previous years. Sir Yellow finished at number 20 in the list of the 20 worst British sitcoms of all time in Mark Lewison's The Radio Times Guide to TV Comedy. He described it as joust awful. The Daily Telegraph ranked it number 5 in its list of the 10 worst British sitcoms ever made. The programme was axed after just one series. There was no commercial VHS or DVD release.
Number 13.
Next is a BBC sitcom that starred Amanda Holden, the Alice of the title, and Jamie Theakston as a divorced couple with a young son. The premise is that they're trying to co-parent and still have other relationships. They could both be forgiven for having a sense of déjà vu. They had a brief relationship in 2003 and Holden had recently finalised a divorce from comic and presenter Les Dennis after she had a fling with actor Neil Morrissey. Theakston, meanwhile, had his own problems with tabloid stories about him being blackmailed over images of him with one or more female escorts. He had split from actress Jolie Richardson in 2001. Frankly, Holden and Theakston's backstories make for a much more interesting plot than Mad About Alice. The BBC heavily promoted the series that was scheduled on Friday nights just after popular soap opera EastEnders and followed by repeats of Only Fools and Horses, one of the BBC's most highly rated and watched comedies of all time. The first episode did well, boasting 6.5 million viewers and becoming the 13th most viewed programme on BBC One for the week. By the last episode, however, only 5 million viewers were watching, making the show number 28 in the top 30. The series received largely negative reviews. Digital Spy included the show in their list of the UK's 5 worst sitcoms in 2013. The series earned the dubious distinction of being named by the Metro as one of the 10 worst sitcoms, even worse than The Right Way. Talking about it in his book The Radio Times Guide to Comedy, Mark Lewison said the show had potential but that it was somewhat contrived and not much different from the 1972 sitcom My Wife Next Door. Joe Bish in Vice said, Holden is not the right person to play a downtrodden single mum of one. She has that late 90s sheen, the glow of a girl next door from Neighbours. He didn't like her co-star either, saying, Theakston plays a doctor, but I would rather have my blood taken by Count Dracula than this asshole. Mark Lawson in The Guardian used quite a few column inches discussing the dangers of casting performers that bear the mark of their headlines as clearly as someone who has used rolled up newspapers as a pillow. He quoted one critic who described Theakston's performance as so wooden, rumours are that when he was hanging out backstage, the props guys coated him with Ronseal. Twice. Even the Radio Times said it was mired in the 1970s, larded in smut and haunted by the spirits of Terry and June. The awful theme song was performed by Jamie Theakston and Amanda Holden. Viewers were quick to comment that not only could the pair not sing, but they can't act either. One viewer said that the two exhibit all the chemistry of an empty test tube in a vacuum at absolute zero. Mad About Alice proved to be the last real leading television role for Theakston, who had guest star roles in more successful shows like Miss Marple and Little Britain. Amanda Holden did make more sitcoms and other television shows, and we will be seeing her in another episode of this series of videos. There were only 6 episodes and the BBC did not commission a second series. There apparently was a DVD release, but I've not been able to find it online. Well, there you have it, a quick and dirty look at some of the worst rated British sitcoms ever to grace our screens. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, or perhaps it was more like a dark alley. If you know of any other sitcoms you think deserve to be on the list of shame, feel free to leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos about British television comedy and sitcoms. Until next time, when I look at numbers 12 to 10, remember, not all sitcoms are created equal. Thanks for watching.